This is the WWE NXT November 19, 2024 full show results video. The show opens up with Vic Joseph and WWE Hall of Famer Booker T welcoming us and Vic Joseph hyping up the Deadline PLE taking place in a few weeks. We then see WWE NXT Tag Team Champions Fraxium, Nathan Frazer and Axiom, having a conversation in the backstage area. Axiom is hyped at all of the tag teams beating each other up just to get to them. Frazer is ignoring Axiom because he is more focused on qualifying for the Iron Survivor match. Then we saw an Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match between Eddie Thorpe versus Nathan Frazer. In the end, we saw that all the tag teams at ringside begin brawling with one another and Frazer flies off the ropes to land on them and Thorpe takes advantage. Thorpe sends Frazer crashing into the ring apron spine first and Frazer hits a neckbreaker on Thorpe back in the ring and follows it up with a Phoenix Splash and defeated Eddie Thorpe by pinfall to qualifying for the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge. Post-match, the chaotic tag team brawling continues while referees and security swarm to break it up. We then get a promo video from Chase U's Andre Chase and he says Chase U was built from taking risk. Chase then says it started with him and Thea, but then Chase U made an MVP when Duke Hudson joined and then says Hale got her first NXT win in Chase U. Chase then apologizes for losing the University once, but says they sold out calendars to get the money and University back and talks about Chase U helping Thea Hale get an opportunity at the Women's Championship. Chase then talks about how Chase U led them all to tag team gold, also says he will be damned if anyone will take his family away and several Chase U students then gave Chase words of encouragement. Chase then says tonight he will be the #1 contender to the NXT Championship. We then get a promo video from the Beautiful Madness, Julia, where she talks about moving to America for the first time. Julia then says she is learning the American culture, while America learns what the Beautiful Madness is and then talks about how she learned how to fight by scrapping growing up. Julia then talks about how the other women will get a taste of what the Beautiful Madness is at Deadline and then says once she gets through the Iron Survivor match, she will beat Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. Kalani Jordan is then shown watching the promo with Robert Stone and Stevie Turner and Jordan is shown acting nervous. Jordan then demands that Ava's assistants put her in a match against Julia to qualify for the Iron Survivor Challenge match at Deadline. Then we saw an Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match between Jada Parker versus Stephanie Vacker. We saw that Vacker sends Parker's head repeatedly bouncing off the mat, then goes for a pin but Parker kicks out. Parker then hits Vacker with a Falcon Arrow, then sends her crashing into the mat face first. Lola Vice then appears at ringside with a brick in hand and captures Parker's attention, opening the door for Vacker to hit a super kick and package backbreaker on her and defeated Jada Parker by pinfall to qualifying for the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. We then see Dion Lennox and Brindley Reese hyping each other up in the locker room for their mixed tag team match. Reese talks about being hyped about the Pac-12. We then get a Roxanne Perez Twitter video, where she is gloating about being the first Iron Survivor. Perez is at the beach and Sol Ruca is also shown at the beach surfboarding and then taunts Perez before hitting the waves. The next match happened between Brooks Jensen versus Tony D'Angelo, and the result of this match was Tony D'Angelo defeated Brooks Jensen by pinfall with a thrust spinebuster. After the match, Spears extends his hand to D'Angelo and D'Angelo shakes it, but Jensen blindsides D'Angelo with a chop block from behind. Ashante the Adonis and Carmen Petrovich are then shown warming up backstage. Petrovich and Adonis compliments each other for their fit. After Petrovich leaves, Adonis is looking a bit parched. We then head to the back, where Lexus King is talking about how he's turned a new leaf. King says people have been taking notice at his changes. The camera then pans over to show King having a conversation with Noah star Yashiki Inamura. Inamura tells King he understands and Josh Briggs then shows up and wonders what Yashiki and King are talking about. Yashiki then says NXT is a crazy place. The camera then pans over to show the tag teams brawling backstage and Inamura then says this is his kind of crazy. Then we saw a mixed tag team match between Ashante the Adonis and Carmen Petrovich versus Brindley Reese and Dion Lennox. In the end, we saw that Adonis calls for Reese to kiss him on the cheek, but Reese slaps him. Petrovich then takes advantage and hits Reese with a roundhouse kick for the win. After the match, Adonis and Petrovich high-fived each other, but their hand-holding led to more tension. We then head to the back, where Sarah Schreiber is interviewing Ridge Holland about his upcoming match and Holland talks about Chase going through memory lane earlier. Holland then talks about how after tonight, Riley, Duke, and Thea will no longer have a father figure and then says he's going to Deadline, which means Chase U dies. Then we saw an Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match between Ren Sinclair vs Zarya. There was a moment when Zarya sends Sinclair back inside and stares down Dempsey, but Sinclair hits a tope suicide dive on Zarya and gets her back inside the ring. The result of this match was Zarya wins by pinfall with the F5, qualifying for the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. Backstage, Tony D'Angelo is furious in the trainer's room when Ava Raine rolls up and he demands a title match against Shawn Spears next week. Eddie Thorpe rolls up to whine about losing his match. Ava tells Thorpe she can't just put him in Iron Survivor Challenge and he gets pissed and storms off. Fatal Influence then make their way out to the ring to address the NXT universe, and JC Jane starts off by saying Fatal Influence is ahead of the curve and will be sitting on top of the best women's division in all of wrestling. Fallon Henley then says her Women's North American Championship is proof, and Jasmine Nick says they shut Kalani Jordan up for good last week. Henley then proposes an open challenge for her Women's North American Championship to show that she's a fighting champion. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson's music then hit and they make their way out looking to answer the open challenge. Nikkita Lyons' music then hits and tells Legend to get to the back of the line, but Adriana Rizzo nails Lyons from behind. Several more competitors in the women's division then make their way out and begin brawling with one another. Henley is left standing alone in the ring, but Tatum Paxley nails her from behind and holds up the Women's North American Championship. The camera then pans over to Carmen Petrovich telling Ashante Adonis that they had good chemistry, and Ashante wonders if that counts out of the ring. Petrovich was about to respond to that maybe by a kiss, but Nikkita Lyons shows up and claims that Ashante slipped into her text messages. Petrovich then leaves and Ashante claims that he didn't text any other shotties, especially Nikkita. All Ego Ethan Page gets a promo about how he's going to get the NXT Championship back. Fraxium are backstage and Axiom is convinced Page isn't getting into Iron Survivor Challenge because he's wrestling him. Nathan Fraser is shocked but quickly changes his tune to be supportive, and then they realize that they might have to fight each other. In the main event of the show, we saw a match between Andre Chase versus Ridge Holland to become the #1 contender for the NXT Championship. If Andre Chase loses, it's the end of Chase U as we know it, and Trick Williams is on commentary for this one. Holland exposes the concrete on the outside as we see Chase U keeping a close eye on the action from backstage. Hudson then appears at ringside and pulls the referee out of the ring as Thea Hale stands by. Hudson then delivers some right hands on Holland and looks to send him crashing through the exposed concrete, but Holland sends him crashing through part of the NXT set. In the end, Chase then climbs to the top and looks to hit a crossbody on Chase, but Holland intercepts him and hits Chase with a cradle DDT for the win and become the #1 contender to the WWE NXT Championship. After the match, the camera pans over to the 3 fallen Chase U members at ringside with Andre Chase showing sadness in the ring. The camera also shows some audience members crying at ringside and then shows Andre Chase crying, and the show comes to a close.